On Tuesday, a landmark federal trial will begin, led by 4 states who accuse Meta platforms of deliberately hooking children on its apps. You've heard about this before for financial gain, of course.
There have been a lot of lawsuits and some wins and some losses. 29 states, though, in total are suing the social media company with potential penalties reaching nearly $200 billion. Joining us right now, Bloomberg News tech reporter Alexandra Levine. Alexandra, lay it out for us, what we're expecting. We're expecting, what, opening statements this week? We know that a jury has been chosen, but tell us what we are expecting when this gets underway.
Yeah, oral arguments are beginning Tuesday. As you mentioned, it's this bipartisan coalition of 29 state attorneys general in this federal lawsuit where they've basically accused Meta of designing its products, its most popular products like Instagram, Facebook, to be addicting to minors. We can expect to see Mark Zuckerberg and head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, potentially testify. But I think it's really important to think about this next trial in the context of a much broader moment for these companies. We've been hearing for years, as you pointed out, about potential harms to minors that many of the top platforms, not just Meta, have caused. And this trial is just really one piece of a much bigger picture that many see as a real reckoning for these enormously powerful companies in the middle of an entire year of national social media litigation.
Alexandria, the language in the lawsuit is pretty heavy, accusing Facebook of harnessing powerful and unprecedented technologies to entice, engage, and ultimately ensnare youth and teens. What are we talking about here? Is that the algorithm?
Well, Meta would argue that all of these claims are overblown, and repeatedly, including in some of the recent trials that we've seen this year, they've pointed to all sorts of protections that they believe they have in place that they believe keep teens safe. But I think at question here is really the product design. So it's notifications that are pinging young people overnight in the middle of the night while they're supposed to be sleeping. It is the algorithm that keeps them doing an infinite scroll. It is all of these design decisions that really, not just in the state AG's case, but in all of the litigation that we've seen playing out this year, that has been the primary focus. Whereas in the past, and as I said, we've been hearing about these harms to minors for many years now. In the past, the focus has more been on the content posted on the platforms. Today, the focus is primarily on the design of the platforms and how that could potentially harm young people in particular.
Well, and this is what we talk about, right? That this case threatens Meta's profits. They already have had to do a settlement, and they recently talked about on earnings about a $2 billion payout that was going to materially impact this company. How problematic financially and from a business case could this all turn out to be?
Well, the potential price tag on this trial has captured a lot of attention. I think there has been some sticker shock here. So Meta has warned that the damages could be as high as $1.4 trillion. That is a remarkable number when you think about the fact that Meta has a $1.5 trillion market value, while attorneys from the states say that it's actually still, it would actually be closer to $200 billion that they're asking for. But just to put that in context, $200 billion is roughly equal to Meta's 2025 revenue. So either way, the sums are enormous. And I think, as much as a financial penalty of that magnitude, whether it's 1.4 trillion or 200 billion, would certainly sting for Meta. I think what is a larger risk for the company in this situation is that the state AGs are actually also asking for injunctive relief. So this would basically force Meta to make changes to its DNA, the way that its products operate. This would fundamentally change how the business runs. And those risks, in some ways, are potentially even more threatening for Meta than just the financial award alone.
This is going to be a 7-week slog, unless you can tell us otherwise, Alexandra. Mark Zuckerberg has not been called to testify. Will he be?
He may testify. I think that, who's testifying and exactly when remains to be seen. We have seen him, go before Congress before. We've seen him in previous trials before. But I think what is so interesting about Mark Zuckerberg in this moment is that he has been, especially in the timing is quite remarkable, especially in the last couple of weeks, he has been out in front of the company talking about its sweeping vision for the future of artificial intelligence.
That's right, yeah.
and super intelligence. And this is all talking so much about Meta's future. But this problem of potential harms to children is something that he has tried, in some cases to avoid speaking about. And I think that there's very much a tension between what he's envisioning and talking about for the company's future versus his past and present. And I even think it's telling on earnings calls recently. We've listened in on company earnings for both of the quarters of this year so far, and questions about this have not really come up that much. The executives who have spoken on the calls have really not addressed it, and that's not specific to Meta. That is across the board for most of the social media platforms that were involved in this national litigation that we've covered. So I think it'll be interesting to see if he testifies, but I think it's important to note that it's sort of in this broader context where it's just not an issue that he's talking about as publicly. And I think that a lot of the AI talk is overshadowing that, or looming larger over that in some ways.
Alex, one thing I want to ask you: there could have been in the reporting that we've done here at Bloomberg, there could have been even more at stake for Meta. The court has already narrowed the state's case, throwing out claims based on some features critical to the company's business operations, including recommendation algorithms and notifications. I hear algorithms, and it kind of gets my attention. This could have been much worse. I mean, is there anything that's going to be done that substantially changes the access of content to teenagers and younger folks?
Well, again, the main focus of this, it's less on the content itself and more on the design, right? So any injunctive relief measures that could go beyond the financial penalty would be more focused on sort of like changes to the way that the app operates, the way it delivers the content, but not to the actual content itself. But I think that the reason why that is such a threat is because if the courts of law order that injunctive relief measures, like changing push notifications, changing the way the algorithm operates, if those are ordered if the courts of law order those kinds of changes, they have the ability to enforce those kinds of changes much faster than Congress can legislate.